We begin this half hour with the UAW contract countdown. The contract between the United Auto Workers Union and Detroit 3 expires Thursday night at 11:59. But just over 54 hours to go, there are a ton of questions about what's happening at the bargaining table and whether auto workers are on the road to striking. So tonight I'm joined by Dave Zoia from auto publication Ward's Auto. Dave, thank you so much for being here. Let's talk about the sticking points here. What are they? And then, we know that UAW has asked for a 40% wage increase, and they cite that CEOs over the last 4 years have received that same increase. So how realistic is that? And then what does common ground look like? Is there a chance that we could see any or all of the automakers and the UAW close this gap by Thursday night?
Yeah, well, I think that's the first big sticking point, is that 40% raise that they're asking for. I think realistically the UAW knows it's going to have to come down off that number. I think the automakers know they have to come up from where they've been, so there'll be some middle ground that they'll have to get to from that. Other issues I think beyond that are things like COLA. The union wants cost of living adjustments. It's not something the automakers favor. They'd rather see a lump sum payment where they're not, building wages up and then adding to that. So they prefer to go more of a lump sum thing. The union also wants an end to the two-tier wage system, and that's something the automakers will probably want to hold on to a bit. So we might see a middle ground where they come off that first tier a little sooner than they had in the past. So those are some of the big issues. The unions asked for more or less a 4-day work week. I don't think that's probably realistic. I think they'll come off of that.
And part of that is because there are many workers that work 6-7 days a week and work 10, 12-hour days. So they're trying to prevent them from being forced into that, more or less, right? Let's talk about if these negotiations don't work out very well and there's a possibility for a work stoppage. What would the strike look like? And the UAW has said they will strike all of the automakers at the same time. That's historic. Is it inevitable at this point?
I don't know if it's inevitable. I mean, it feels likely that there'll be some strike at least one of the automakers. And more than likely, maybe all three of them at once, because they're still quite far apart, it seems, in the negotiations. So if that happens, we could see production losses very quickly. A couple 100,000 units just in September. So you'll start to see that impact, very quickly in some pretty big numbers if the strike continues beyond September.
And we don't know how long the strike would happen at this point, how far apart they truly are. I guess we'll have to wait and see. The countdown is on. Dave Zoia, appreciate your time. Thank you. And be sure to stay with 7 Action News as we monitor negotiations between the UAW and Detroit automakers. We'll have updates both on air and at WXYZ.com. Glenda.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.